My name is Chloe Bennett, and I'm 26 years old. I'm a published author, but 9 years ago, I was told I'd never make it. I grew up in Phoenix, Arizona, in a working-class neighborhood on the west side of the city. My mom, Linda Bennett, raised 3 kids alone. My father left when I was 5. I barely remember him. Mom worked as a cleaning lady. She cleaned offices downtown, starting at 5 in the morning. Sometimes she worked 3 buildings in one day. She came home exhausted, her hands red and raw from chemicals. We didn't have much. Our apartment had 2 bedrooms. My mom slept on the couch, so my younger brother and sister could have the second room. I shared the first bedroom with both of them until I was 14. Then we got bunk beds, and I slept on top. Money was always tight. Mom worked hard, but cleaning jobs don't pay well. We got by, barely. But I had books. The public library was 6 blocks from our apartment. I discovered it when I was 8. It became my sanctuary. I read everything. Fiction, nonfiction, poetry, plays. I didn't care. I just wanted stories. Stories took me away from our cramped apartment, from the smell of bleach on my mom's clothes, from the fear that we wouldn't make rent. By the time I was 12, I was writing my own stories. Nothing serious, just notebooks filled with characters and worlds I created. I never showed anyone. It felt private. Sacred. In high school, I kept writing. But I also started working. At 16, I got a job at McDonald's. After school shifts, 4 to 10 p.m. The money helped. Mom needed it. My shifts ended at 10. I'd get home at 10:30. Do homework until midnight. Then write until 2 or 3 in the morning. Sleep 4 hours. Wake up at 7 for school. I was always tired, but writing kept me going. It was the only thing that felt like mine. Senior year, I had Mrs. Catherine Reynolds for English. She was in her early 50s, with graying hair pulled into a tight bun. She wore pearl necklaces and spoke in a precise, clipped tone. She loved classic literature, Shakespeare, Dickens, Austen. She talked about them like they were holy texts. Mrs. Reynolds made it clear that real literature was elevated, serious, not the kind of thing you'd find in popular bookstores. She dismissed anything modern or commercial. I found her intimidating, but I respected her. She was a teacher. She knew literature. Maybe she could help me become a better writer. That November, she assigned us a personal essay. Write about a meaningful memory. Make it vivid. Make it matter. I thought for days about what to write. Then, I decided to write about my mom. I wrote about the night I was 12 years old and couldn't sleep. I got up around 2 in the morning to get water. My mom wasn't on the couch. I panicked. Where was she? Then I heard scrubbing sounds from the bathroom. I found her on her knees, cleaning the grout between the tiles with a toothbrush. She was crying quietly. "Mom?" I whispered. "What are you doing?" She looked up, startled. Her eyes were red. I couldn't sleep. Thought I'd clean. "Why are you crying?" She wiped her face with her sleeve. "I'm not crying, baby, just tired." But I knew. She was crying because she was exhausted, because she worked so hard and it was never enough, because she cleaned other people's bathrooms all day and came home to clean ours. I sat down next to her. "You don't have to do this now." "I do," she said. "I need to keep moving. If I stop, I'll think too much. And if I think too much, I'll fall apart." That image stayed with me. My mom on her knees at 2 in the morning, scrubbing grout with a toothbrush because she couldn't afford to fall apart. I wrote that story. I wrote about her hands, about the smell of bleach, about the way she held herself together with sheer willpower, about how strong she was, even when she was breaking. I called it The Woman Who Never Stopped. I worked on that essay for 2 weeks. I revised it 7 times. I wanted it to be perfect. I wanted Mrs. Reynolds to see that I could write, that I had something to say. I turned it in on a Monday. Mrs. Reynolds said she'd have them graded by Friday. That week felt endless. I kept imagining her reading my essay. Maybe she'd see something in it. Maybe she'd tell me I had potential. Maybe she'd encourage me to keep writing. Friday came. Mrs. Reynolds handed back our essays at the end of class. I looked at mine. There was a large C written in red ink at the top. No comments. Just a grade. I stared at it in disbelief. A C? I'd never gotten a C on an English assignment in my life. After class, I approached her desk. Mrs. Reynolds, can I ask about my grade? She looked up from her papers. Yes, Chloe? I got a C. I worked really hard on this. I was wondering if you could give me feedback so I can improve. She sighed like I was wasting her time. Chloe, the essay was fine, technically competent, but it lacked sophistication. Sophistication? The subject matter was too pedestrian. Cleaning? Poverty? These aren't literary themes. They're sociological problems. Literature elevates the human experience. It explores universal truths through artistry, not hardship. I felt my face flush. But it's my experience. My mom's experience. I'm sure it is. But writing about difficult circumstances doesn't make something literature. You need to aim higher. Read more classics. Study the masters. Learn what real writing looks like. I stood there, unable to speak. She continued. Frankly, Chloe, I don't think writing is your strength. You're a decent student, but you don't have the natural talent required for serious literary work. You should consider other career paths. My throat tightened. I want to be a writer. She gave me a sad smile, the kind adults give children when they say they want to be astronauts. Chloe, you'll never be published. Find a different dream, something more realistic. I left her classroom feeling hollow. That night, I cried. I told my mom what happened. She held me and said, Baby, that teacher doesn't know you. She doesn't know your heart. Don't let her take this from you. But the damage was done. I started doubting everything. Maybe Mrs. Reynolds was right. Maybe I wasn't good enough. Maybe my stories were just pedestrian. For weeks, I stopped writing. I went to work, went to school, did my homework, but I didn't write. The notebooks sat closed on my desk. I couldn't bring myself to open them. Then one day in December, I was in the school library during lunch. Mr. David Park, the librarian, noticed me sitting alone. Chloe, you okay? He asked. I shrugged. Fine. He sat down across from me. Mr. Park was in his late 30s, Korean-American, always wearing cardigans and round glasses. He was quiet but kind. He'd helped me find books since I was a freshman. You haven't checked out any books in a while, he said. That's unusual for you. I've been busy. He studied me. Did something happen? I hesitated. Then I told him about the essay. About Mrs. Reynolds. About being told I'd never be published. Mr. Park listened quietly. When I finished, he said, Can I read your essay? Why? Because I want to see what she saw, or didn't see. I pulled the essay from my backpack. The C was still circled in red at the top. I handed it to him. He read it slowly. When he finished, he looked up. Chloe, this is beautiful. I blinked. What? This is honest, raw, powerful writing. The imagery is vivid. The emotion is real. This isn't pedestrian. This is brave. But Mrs. Reynolds said, Mrs. Reynolds is wrong. He said it firmly. She's wrong about you. And she's wrong about what makes good writing. Literature isn't just about elevated language and universal themes. It's about truth. And you told the truth about your life. That takes courage. Tears welled up in my eyes. She said I don't have talent. She's wrong, he repeated. You have something far more important than talent. You have a voice, a perspective, a story that needs to be told. Don't let her silence you. He stood up and walked to a shelf. He came back with a book, The Color Purple by Alice Walker. "Read this," he said. Alice Walker wrote about her life, about hardship, about poverty and pain and survival, and she won the Pulitzer Prize. Because her story mattered, just like yours does. I took the book. That night, I started reading. By the end of the first chapter, I was crying. Because Alice Walker wrote about her world, her truth, and it was literature, beautiful, heartbreaking literature. I realized Mrs. Reynolds was wrong. My stories weren't pedestrian. They were mine. And they mattered. I opened my notebook, and I started writing again. The rest of senior year passed in a blur. I avoided Mrs. Reynolds. I focused on work, on school, on writing. Mr. Park became my unofficial mentor. He recommended books. We talked about writing. He encouraged me to keep going. "What are you planning after graduation?" he asked in May. I don't know. Maybe community college. I can't afford university. Have you applied for scholarships? I shook my head. My grades are good, but not great. I work too much to do extracurriculars. I don't think I'd get anything. Apply anyway. You never know. I applied to 3 schools with scholarship programs. Small state universities. Nothing fancy. In June, I got a letter. Full scholarship to Arizona State University. Not for academics. For financial need and a personal essay about overcoming adversity. I wrote about my mom. About growing up poor. About working at McDonald's while dreaming of becoming a writer. The scholarship covered tuition and books. I could live at home and commute. It wasn't Harvard, but it was a chance. I accepted. At graduation, Mrs. Reynolds gave a speech about the importance of pursuing realistic goals. She talked about how not everyone was meant for greatness, and that was okay. Some people were meant for ordinary lives. I sat in my cap and gown and thought, I'll prove you wrong. College was hard. I worked 25 hours a week at McDonald's while taking a full course load. I majored in English, obviously. I couldn't afford to quit my job. My family needed the money, but I kept writing. Every night after homework I wrote short stories, chapters of a novel I was drafting. Anything. In my sophomore year, I took a creative writing class. The professor, Dr. Emma Torres, was in her 40s, a published novelist. She read my first short story submission and called me to her office. "Chloe, where did you learn to write like this?" I shifted in my seat. "I just write. I've been writing since I was a kid." "This is good. Really good. Have you thought about pursuing writing professionally?" "I want to, but I don't know how. I don't have connections. I don't know any writers," she smiled. "You know me now. Let me help you." Dr. Torres became my mentor. She taught me about the publishing industry, about agents, editors, query letters. She gave me books on craft. She read my drafts and gave honest feedback. "You have raw talent," she told me, "but you need to refine it. Keep writing. Keep reading. Keep learning." I did. For 4 years, I wrote constantly. I finished my first novel during my junior year. It was rough, too long, poorly structured, but it was a complete draft. Dr. Torres read it. "This needs work. But there's something here. Revise it. Make it better." I revised, and revised, and revised. By my senior year, I had a second draft. Better, tighter, still not perfect. "When you graduate," Dr. Torres said, "you should try to get an agent. Start querying, see what happens." I graduated in May 2018. I was 22 years old. I had a bachelor's degree in English, $50,000 in student loan debt despite my scholarship, and a novel manuscript that might never be published. But I had hope. Getting an agent is brutal. You send query letters to literary agents. Most don't respond. The ones who do usually say no. I started querying in June 2018. I sent 50 queries over 3 months. I got 30 rejections. The rest never replied. The rejections hurt. Not right for our list. Doesn't fit our vision. We're passing. By October, I was discouraged. Maybe Mrs. Reynolds was right. Maybe I'd never be published. But Dr. Torres told me, every successful author has been rejected. J.K. Rowling was rejected 12 times. Stephen King was rejected 30 times for Carrie. Keep going. I kept going. In December 2018, I got a response from Rachel Cohen, a literary agent in New York. She wanted to read the full manuscript. I sent it immediately. 2 weeks later, she called. "Chloe, I love this. I want to represent you. I almost dropped the phone. Really? Let's get this book published. Rachel became my agent. She edited my manuscript. We revised together for 3 months. In March 2019, she started submitting to publishers. More rejections. Too quiet. Not commercial enough. We're passing. But in June 2019, a small independent publisher made an offer. They wanted to publish my book. The advance was modest. $5,000, but it was a yes. I signed the contract. My book, titled The Woman Who Never Stopped, was scheduled for publication in March 2021. I called my mom and cried. I'm going to be a published author. She cried too. I'm so proud of you, baby. Publishing a book takes time. Editing, cover design, marketing. I spent 2020 working with my editor, revising the manuscript for publication. The book came out in March 2021. A small release. No big publicity. Just a book in stores. I did a local reading at a bookstore in Phoenix. 15 people showed up. My mom was there. Dr. Torres, Mr. Park, my best friend Jasmine. I read the opening chapter, about my mom scrubbing grout at 2 a.m. When I finished, the room was silent. Then someone started clapping. Everyone joined. My mom was crying. After the reading, people bought copies. I signed each one. This meant something to me, one woman said. Thank you for writing it. Sales were modest at first. A few hundred copies in the first month, then a few thousand. Book bloggers started reviewing it. A raw, honest debut. Heart-wrenching and beautiful. By June, it had sold 10,000 copies. Small press success. Then in July, something unexpected happened. A popular book club on social media chose it as their monthly read. Suddenly, sales exploded. 20,000, 50,000, 100,000 publishers weekly called it a breakout hit. In September 2021, The Woman Who Never Stopped hit the New York Times bestseller list. Number 8. I was 25 years old, and my book was a bestseller. In November 2021, my publisher arranged a book signing tour, 10 cities. Phoenix was the final stop. The event was at a large bookstore downtown. They'd set up 200 chairs. I thought they'd overestimated. Who would come? The room filled, every seat taken. People standing in the back. I sat at a table with stacks of my book. A line formed. Dozens of readers waiting to get their copies signed. I signed for 2 hours. Personalized each one. Talked to readers about what the book meant to them. Near the end of the line, I looked up and saw a familiar face. Mrs. Catherine Reynolds. She was holding a copy of my book. My heart skipped. I hadn't seen her since graduation. She looked older, grayer, tired. She stepped forward. Hello, Chloe. Mrs. Reynolds, I said evenly. I wanted to tell you. I read your book, did you? Yes, I bought it last month. She set it on the table. Would you sign it? I stared at the book, then at her. 100 responses went through my mind. Angry ones, bitter ones. Instead, I opened the book to the title page. I picked up my pen. I wrote, To Mrs. Reynolds, thanks for the motivation. Chloe Bennett. I closed the book and handed it back. She read the inscription. Her face went pale. She looked up at me. Chloe, next in line, please, I said, looking past her. She stood there for a moment. Then she left. I never saw her again. My book stayed on the bestseller list for 16 weeks. It sold 500,000 copies in the United States. Foreign rights sold in 12 countries. The success changed my life. I paid off my student loans. I quit McDonald's. I moved into my own apartment. I bought my mom a house, a small one, but hers. No more apartments, no more landlords. You don't have to do this, she said when I gave her the keys. Yes, I do. You worked your whole life. Let me give you this, she cried. We both did. In 2022, I started writing my second novel. My publisher gave me a 6-figure advance this time. I had time, space, financial security. The second book came out in 2023. It also hit the bestseller list. Not as high as the first, but successful. I was interviewed by magazines, NPR, local news. They asked about my journey. What kept you going when people told you that you couldn't do it? One interviewer asked. I thought about Mrs. Reynolds, about that C on my essay. About being told I'd never be published. Spite, I said. And love for my mom. And the belief that my story mattered, even if someone told me it didn't. In December 2023, I received a letter, handwritten, return address in Phoenix. I opened it. Dear Chloe, I don't know if you'll read this. I wouldn't blame you if you threw it away. I'm writing to apologize. When you were my student, I failed you, not because I gave you a C, but because I dismissed your voice. I told you that you weren't good enough, that your story didn't matter. I was wrong. I've been teaching for 30 years. I thought I knew what good writing looked like. I thought literature had to be elevated, sophisticated. I didn't understand that real literature comes from truth, from lived experience, from voices that challenge us. Your book taught me that. I read it and saw what I couldn't see in your essay. The power, the honesty, the artistry. I failed you, and I failed other students too. Students who wrote from their lives, from their struggles, and I dismissed them because their stories didn't fit my narrow definition of literature. I retired last year. I've spent the past months thinking about my career, about the students I discouraged, about the voices I silenced. I can't undo the harm I caused, but I can acknowledge it and apologize. I'm sorry, Chloe. You deserved better. You deserved encouragement. You deserved to be told that your voice mattered. I hope you can forgive me, but I understand if you can't. Sincerely, Catherine Reynolds. I read the letter 3 times. Part of me wanted to be angry, to stay bitter. She'd hurt me. She'd made me doubt myself, but another part of me felt sad. For her. For the students she'd discouraged. For the years she'd spent believing in the wrong things. I wrote back. Mrs. Reynolds, thank you for your letter. I'm not going to say your apology fixes everything. What you said to me hurt. It made me question my worth as a writer. It took years to rebuild my confidence. But I also know that people grow. That they change. That they realize their mistakes. You were wrong about me, but you recognized that, and you apologized. That takes courage. I forgive you. Not because you deserve it, but because holding on to anger doesn't serve me. I hope you've learned. I hope you encourage the next generation of writers, all of them, regardless of where they come from or what stories they tell. Thank you for teaching me a lesson, even if it wasn't the one you intended. You taught me that other people's opinions don't define my worth, that my voice matters, even when someone tells me it doesn't. That lesson was worth the C. Sincerely, Chloe Bennett. I sent the letter. I don't know if she ever replied. I didn't need her to, because the truth is, I'd already moved on. I'm 26 now. I've published 2 novels. I'm working on a 3rd. I still think about that night when I was 17. Standing in Mrs. Reynolds' classroom, being told I'd never be published. Sometimes, I wonder what would have happened if I'd believed her. If I'd stopped writing, if I'd given up, but I didn't. Because of my mom, because of Mr. Park, because of Dr. Torres, because of everyone who believed in me when I couldn't believe in myself, and because deep down, I knew my story mattered. I still write every night, not out of desperation anymore, not to escape, but because writing is who I am. It's my voice, my truth. My 3rd book is about a girl who grows up poor and becomes a writer. It's fiction, but it's also my story. All my stories are. Last month, I gave a talk at Arizona State University. Dr. Torres invited me. I spoke to a room full of English students about writing, about rejection, about perseverance. After the talk, a young woman approached me. She was nervous, shy. I want to be a writer, she said. But my teacher told me I'm not good enough. That I should do something more realistic. I looked at her. I saw myself at 17. Your teacher is wrong, I said. You are good enough. Your story matters. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. She started crying. Thank you. Keep writing, I told her. No matter what. Keep writing, because that's the truth. The only truth that matters. If you have something to say, say it. If you have a story to tell, tell it. Someone out there needs to hear it. Maybe that someone is you.